House Republicans squeaked out a string of wins on Capitol Hill this week. In addition to ending a months-long DHS shutdown, lawmakers passed support for farmers and extended foreign surveillance powers. But a massive reconciliation could bring new challenges. And with that, we welcome in the House Majority Whip Tom Emmer. What a real pleasure to have you with us. I have to say, as weeks go, last week was a pretty good one for the Grand Old Party. What say you?
It was a good week, Kevin. Everybody predicts our failure, it seems like, every week. Last week was quite the challenge, obviously, because the schedule had to be rearranged in the first place because of King Charles' visit. So everybody was pleased about that, and then they had to come into town and deal with three major issues, one of which is a creation of the Senate and radical left-wing Democrats that Chuck Schumer chooses to follow rather than lead. Well, I guess he's leading them as well. And then the other two are must-do bills. The Farm Bill was probably one of the biggest wins of the year because our farm families across this country, and in my state of Minnesota, are really hurting, and they needed that.
You know what? And obviously, I have family in Lakeville. I love the state. I think it's an amazing place to live and a great place to be from. But I have to say, given everything that we've learned about the fraud that has been taking place in the land of 10,000 lakes, I, for one, am completely shocked. And I'm just curious, when I read things about Tim Walz saying, hey, because of our work, this is why we are doing so much better. Let me just share this and get your reaction, because he seems to sort of just be, waving pom-poms. He says this: today's raid by state and federal law enforcement happened because our state agencies caught irregular behavior and reported it. Well. And then, of course, there's a pretty sharp retort by you. I just want to share this as well. I thought it was funny. The only thing Governor Walz should be claiming credit for is allowing $9 billion of taxpayer funds to be stolen under his watch. When you saw him write that, and when you saw him sort of chirping about how, we are the ones bringing, sanity back to Minnesota and saving the taxpayers' money, what went across your mind?
Well, Tim is a fraud. Look, he's allowed this fraud to take place, and for him to even suggest that he and his administration are part of notifying, they had nothing to do with this. This was the Department of Justice. This was Homeland Security. This was the FBI issuing search warrants. Look, they raided over 20 facilities that are operated by Somali fraudsters, leering centers or daycares, if you will, and autism centers. This has been a long-standing investigation that now is resulting in actual action. And you know what, Kevin? When I saw that, when he put that out trying to take credit for something he has absolutely nothing to do, the first thing that came to my mind was, what does Tim Walz know? Because he clearly wants to suddenly be in front of the crowd screaming to clean up the fraud. Look, at best, this guy is a complete and total incompetent. At worst, he's corrupt and complicit and should be held responsible to the full extent of the law.
I think there are a lot of people who feel that it's the latter. It seems to me inexplicable to not have had a sense of what was going on in your state. You are charged with understanding what's happening. And it's a big state. It's a tough job. And he would argue, listen, that's why I stepped away. I want them to fix it. I did the best I could. But I think there's plenty of evidence that suggests that's not true.
Well, it's corruption to the hilt. It's a culture of corruption underneath Tim Walz. Again, I think he's definitely got some explaining to do at the very least. Was he involved? How much did he know? We know that the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, is up to his eyeballs in working with the Somali fraudsters on the Feeding Our Future scandal. This guy was actually telling them just a month before that scandal broke, when the warrants were issued and people were indicted, he was telling them he would stop. He would help obstruct any investigation. Then you got Ilhan Omar, for goodness sakes, Kevin. This is a gal who reports she's now worth $30 million. And months later, when the heat starts to ratchet up, it's suddenly, oh, my accountant made a rounding error. A rounding error from less than $100,000 to $30 million. Corruption is the definition of the Democrats in Minnesota right now, and these are the leaders. They all need to be exposed. They need to be held accountable, and God forbid that they actually were working with these fraudsters. They should all go to jail.
Spot on, especially when you consider, I think I saw video of an alleged wine concern that she was apparently a part of, or her husband was a part of. There was no wine there. There's no there. And I've seen all the video, Nick Shirley and others, they go to these Leering centers and other places, and there's nothing there either. They're just soaking the taxpayer for billions of dollars. And it's incumbent upon the leadership in the state not only to get to the bottom of what happened, but for those who are responsible to face consequences. Last thought to you.
Yeah, a sad thing, Kevin, is if it weren't for Donald J. Trump and the Trump administration, this would still be going on. This is all about Donald Trump saying enough is enough and literally sending 11 of his cabinet members to Minnesota to uncover housing fraud, to uncover daycare fraud, Medicaid fraud, to uncover all of this fraud that Tim Walz and the Walz administration, Keith Ellison, Ilhan Omar, all of them have been actively in the center of now for more than 7 years. It's about 7.5 years. Thank God for President Trump. Otherwise, we wouldn't be starting to get to the bottom of this.
It is the House Majority Whip. Always great to see you. Tom Emmer joining us today, Congressman from the great state of Minnesota. Best to you. Have a great weekend.
Same to you, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.